Part 55. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 541. Coincidentally, He Yan was also drinking at lava that night, in the private room opposite them. When Lin Mingshu received the news, she immediately got up and knocked on the door of the bakery opposite. He Yan and her best friend Fang Beiyin were drinking. It seems that Fang Beiyin really has feelings for her. After all, there are some rumors outside that He Yan was the one behind the kidnapping of her cousin Fang Duo. Even after hearing such rumors, Fang Beiyin could still never leave her, and she could be considered a true best friend. There was a knock on the door, and Lin Mingshu pushed the door open. He Yan glanced at her, expressionless. The Lin family barely touched the edge of the upper-class society in Haikan, but compared with the really wealthy families like the He family and the Fang family, it was still nothing worth mentioning. Lin Mingshu entered the private room with a flattering smile and said straight to the point, "Miss He, I have some dirty information about Wen Qiao here, are you interested?" He Yan was already slightly tipsy and sneered, "Do you want to kill me?" When she said this, her heart was bleeding. Did you know that Wen Qiao and Mr. Fu were not boyfriend and girlfriend at first? Fang Beiyin couldn't help but rolled her eyes. What nonsense are you talking about? What kind of lovers never knew each other and then became boyfriend and girlfriend? He Yan held the wine glass and took a sip with a nonchalant expression. Lin Mingshu said hurriedly, "That's not what I meant. What I meant was that Mr. Fu lost his memory when he was in a car accident last year. It was Wen Qiao who rescued him by chance. Wen Qiao who saved Mr. Fu saw that he was a rich man, so I had a bad idea and took advantage of Mr. Fu's amnesia to lie and claim she was his girlfriend." He Yan's hand holding the wine glass paused, and her eyes finally focused on Lin Mingshu's face. "What did you say?" "What I said is absolutely true. Moreover, I found out that there is another very important thing. Wen Qiao's family has a family history of mental illness. Can the Fu family accept a family with a history of mental illness?" In the dim light, He Yan finally showed a smile. "Your name is?" "Lin Mingshu. Nice to meet you." He Yan was a serious young lady from a wealthy family. She always thought highly of herself and felt that Wen Qiao was not worthy of being on the stage. She always attacked Wen Qiao directly without investigating Wen Qiao's related matters. Now I suddenly have so much information. One advantage she has over He Qian is that Fu Nanli's grandfather likes her very much. When Fu Nanli's father passed away, the Fu family wanted to send him to study in England, and they were worried that he would be depressed in a foreign country with no one to talk to, so Grandpa Fu wanted to find two of his companions to accompany him. One is Fu Cheng, and the other is her brother He Wan. Grandpa Fu personally came to the He family to make the request. At that time, her brother was only 9 years old, and Fu Cheng and she were 7 years old. Her grandfather agreed without saying a word and arranged for her brother and Fu Nanli to go to England to study. A large number of bodyguards, drivers, cooks and butlers were sent to follow them to Europe. 2 years later, she and Fu Cheng also went together. The He family was the benefactor who accompanied him through the pain of losing his father. The He family was Fu Nanli's benefactor. Fu Nanli should not treat her like this for an insignificant person. What she forgot was that when Fu Nanli was 18 years old, she went to Northern Europe with them and encountered a local criminal organization. Fu Nanli blocked a shot for her brother, which almost killed him. During the financial crisis that year, the He family encountered a huge crisis, and it was the Fu family that came to the rescue in time. Unfortunately, He Yan only saw the efforts of the He family and never remembered that Fu Nanli was not an ungrateful person. Asking for monthly ticket. Thank you everyone for your rewards and support, I love you cute. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 542. Fu Cheng and Fu Zhang were both cousins who calculated on his family's property, but their treatment was completely different. This was simply because Fu Cheng had been with Fu Nanli since he was a child. Fu Nanli said he was ruthless, but he was also a very affectionate person in the world. Wen Qiao stayed in Fu Nanli's apartment for 7 days and saw that Fu Nanli was really a very self-disciplined person. He got up at 6:30 every morning. There was a swimming pool on the second floor. He would swim for half an hour first and work in the study for at least 10 hours. He would exercise in the gym in the evening, while Wen Qiao would eat various snacks prepared by him. Sweat soaked his t-shirt, and the strong muscles in his abdomen were looming. Wen Qiao pinched his belly, the contrast was so sharp. She couldn't do anything anymore. The next morning, Fu Nanli was swimming, and she jumped out of the swimming pool. As she swam, she felt something was wrong with Fu Nanli's eyes. After swimming for 20 minutes, a person sitting by the pool and resting looked down at himself. Well, it seemed that his curves were exposed. Young Master Fu climbed onto the edge of the pool and said, "You can't mess with men in the morning. Don't do this again." The towel was thrown on her head and the man entered the bathroom. Wen Qiao sniffed and silently wrapped his body in a towel. 7 days have passed. At the dinner table, Wen Qiao said, "I will go home in a while. My mother has been asking me when I will go home every day for the past 2 days. Staying at Yu's house is too disturbing." Fu Nanli responded softly, "Is there anything uncomfortable?" Wen Qiao shook his head, "No." "Well, I'll take you back later." After breakfast, the car went to the alley. Wen Qiao got off the car and happened to see the postman passing by on a small electric donkey. When he saw her, the uncle said cheerfully, "Qiao Qiao, there are 2 letters from your family. They should be from my brothers, the admission notice." Wen Qiao took the envelope. Both letters were signed number 9 middle school. She took Fu Nanli's hand and ran forward quickly along the alley. The midsummer sun shines through the tung flowers and the green shade protruding from the wall. His child looks so happy. This joy is contagious to him, and the smile on Fu Nanli's mouth widened slightly. Wen Qiao ran all the way back to his home. Wen Qi, who had rarely rested for a day, was lying on a bamboo chair. After days of continuous training, his body seemed to be hollowed out. Wen Qiao threw the envelope on the wooden table. Wen Qi was frightened and looked at his sister in shock. "What are you doing? Disturbing people's dreams. Look at your own acceptance letter." Wen Qi suddenly became excited. When he saw the words 9th middle school, he immediately jumped up. "Wen Qiao, what am I talking about? I will definitely be admitted to the 9th middle school, right?" When Mo was at the well, holding a big watermelon out of the cold water and running over, "Sister, eat the melon." Wen Qiao touched his head and said, "Wen Qi can be in the same high school with you in the future, and my sister can rest assured. With Xiao Mo's temperament, he is easily bullied. With Wen Qi here, he can at least protect him." When Mo took a knife, cut the watermelon into several pieces, and handed a piece to Fu Nanli, "Sister, brother-in-law, eat the watermelon." Fu Nanli smiled and said, "Thank you." Su Yun and Ji Mingyuan hurried back. Su Yun had no time to take off the apron from the convenience store and hurried into the yard. "I heard from the postman that an admission notice has been delivered." Wen Qiao, well, he got into both of them. Su Yun's eyes turned red instantly. She took the 2 admission notices with trembling hands. She wiped the corners of her eyes and said, "How could I dare to believe this a year ago?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 543. Wen Qiao, Xiao Mo is in class 1 and Xiao Qi is in class 5. Su Yun seemed to be unable to hold back her tears, thanks to our Chiao Chiao. Without Chiao Chiao, the two brothers would not know what they would be like. When Chiao hugged Wen Mo's neck, the main thing is to rely on our little genius Wen Mo. If he hadn't helped Wen Chi with tutoring, this kid wouldn't have been able to pass the high school entrance examination. Wen Mo was a little embarrassed, and Wen Chi yelled, "Wen Chiao, you look down on people. If I work harder on my previous results, it won't be a problem to pass the test, okay?" Fu Nanli watched the family talking and laughing. His Chiao single-handedly put this shaky family back on track. My two younger brothers were successfully admitted to key high schools and their mental illnesses were cured. But she herself was still suffering from illness. In the sunshine, she smiled so heartlessly that it was impossible to tell that she had been tortured under the heavy rain a few days ago and suffered from a splitting headache until she could only breathe. Her family had no idea about all this. His little friend's behavior really made him feel heartbroken. After a while, Xiaobai and Ding Hai came over. As expected, they were admitted to the number 2 middle school. The number 2 middle school was not bad, and they were in the same school as Brother Chi. They were quite satisfied. Fu Nanli invited them to have a meal at Beiyin Tower to celebrate each other's admission to their ideal high school. The boys were chatting about games in a lively manner. Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao were not too involved. He whispered to Wen Qiao, "I'm going to Nanbin Island tomorrow. Will you go with me?" Wen Qiao, "I won't go." "Yeah, that's fine. No matter where I go from now on, I will try to get back within 5 days. Wen Qiao nodded, "Okay. I just hope that her problem can be solved within a year, otherwise it will be shortened even further, and it will be 3 days. Fu Nanli will really have to take her with him wherever he goes. At that time, there will be no chance of beauty arising from any distance, which is not conducive to the development of emotions." When Wen Qi heard this, he came over and said, 5 days. "Sister, you are too clingy to your brother-in-law." Wen Qiao hit him on the head, "Is it your business?" Wen Qi touched his head innocently, "Brother-in-law, please take care of your girlfriend, she's so barbaric." Fu Nanli raised his eyebrows and looked at him, "Isn't she nice like this? What else is there to discipline?" Wen Qi silently covered the bachelor's mouth, "It's because I didn't have enough ideological consciousness. Sister, brother-in-law, I was wrong." The next day Fu Nanli went to Nanbin Island, while Wen Qiao went to the club to stay. When Gu Xiao was playing games, he always felt like someone was watching him from behind, but he remained calm and ignored him. Wen Qiao was sitting on the lazy sofa, with his long legs crossed and a thin laptop on his lap. She was looking up Gu Xiao's information. Gu Xiao was not a famous person, so naturally there was no Baidu entry or Google entry. She could only look up some of his enrollment experiences or his own tweets and Weibo posts on the internet. Distinguish carefully. As for Gu Xiao, he has never posted a single thing about his life since he was a child. He is not a person who likes to share or express his feelings. There is very limited useful information online. We can only see that he was studying in the United States and his grades have always been very good. He was criticized twice in middle school. Going back to the internet at that time, we found that he was bullied by white children and his head was broken, but the school officials the fault was placed on him and he was forced to apologize. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 544. Wen Qiao sighed softly. His childhood and even adolescence were very repressed. Looking further back, browsing the news in the town, I discovered that the following year, a high school boy accidentally discharged his own Browning gun while playing with it, and died of excessive blood loss. And that boy was a student at Gu Xiao's school. He was one of the white students who bullied Gu Xiao. After that, Gu Xiao was admitted to MIT at the age of 17. Although he was 1 year younger than her, he was actually a junior student now. In my junior year, I have less than 2 years to get a diploma from a top university in the world. At this time, it seems a bit irrational to go back to China to study at a school that is much worse than MIT. Isn't his mother back too? Why not let his mother take care of his grandmother, but ask him to drop out of a top university? Maybe he doesn't pay much attention to those external things. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of Gu Xiao walking over. Wen Xiao covered the computer slightly and looked at him with a smile. Gu Xiao smiled back, took a can of Coke from the refrigerator next to her, and opened the button of the can. He said, "Do you want to drink?" Wen Xiao, "No, thank you." Gu Xiao returned to the computer. Wen Xiao leaned on the beanbag, thoughtfully. According to the information, his mother's name is Gu Yunzu, so he takes his mother's surname. He said that his father passed away. Even if the father dies, the child usually takes his father's surname. There are only a few possibilities for not taking his father's surname. One is that his father is a son-in-law who stepped in, so he takes his mother's surname. The other is illegitimate child. An illegitimate son cannot take his father's surname and his identity cannot be revealed, so he is named Gu. For a moment, Wen Xiao felt a little complicated, hoping that his unfounded guesses were all wrong. She hoped that that night, someone who refused to save someone was just an illusion, an illusion. She hoped that Gu Xiao was just an ordinary college student, standing on the world-class stage with Wen Qi and the others, holding the AF Club's championship trophy. She didn't want to speculate on others with malicious intent. After checking so much information, she vaguely felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't figure out what was wrong for the moment. Fu Nanli went to Nanbin Island to inspect the project, while Ye Mingkai went to Zurich. Apart from the servants, Mr. Fu was the only one in the huge shallow lake villa. In the morning, he went to the golf course behind the mansion for some exercise. When he came back, he saw He Yan standing at the door holding a small box. "Grandpa Fu." Fu Huaiyang got off the sightseeing bus and said with a smile, "Xiao Yan hasn't been here for a while." He Yan handed the box to the housekeeper. "Uncle Li, I brought some high mountain tea leaves for you, Grandpa, as well as homemade bread, which is sugar-free." Fu Huaiyang patted her hand. "You are interested?" Entering the living room, Uncle Li brought a towel over. Fu Huaiyang wiped the sweat on his forehead. "Are you too busy with work recently? You don't even come here." He Yan's face was almost tense. Her company had been beaten to death by Fu Nanli, so how could she still have a job? She was just doing something in her family's company. No matter how much Fu Nanli disliked her, she would not deal with the He family or her brother. "No matter how busy I am, why should Nanli be busy? I have to deal with Zhonghuan's affairs, fly a plane, and take care of his little girlfriend. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 545. Fu Huaiyang, who was holding the teacup, paused with his hands and looked a little suspiciously. "Little girlfriend? What little girlfriend?" Uncle Li was a little panicked. Regarding the matter between the young master and Xiao Wen, he would never dare to say a word in front of the old man without the young master's approval. This miss he was too open-minded. He Yan immediately showed a guilty look. "Ah, Grandpa Fu, don't you know? Did I talk too much?" Fu Huaiyang put down the teacup in his hand. "Don't talk too much. That kid Nanli never talks to us when he has something to do. He only talks to you juniors. Tell Grandpa, have we, Nanli, really become friends?" He Yan glanced at Uncle Li, and Fu Huaiyang waved, "Go to the kitchen to see the dishes. Xiao Yan will stay here for lunch today." Then he pushed Uncle Li away. He Yan looked confused. "Nanli doesn't want us to tell our elders about him, otherwise he will blame me if he finds out." Fu Huayong smiled and said, I won't tell him that you told me. Uncle Li. He won't tell either. He Yan then said, Nan Li has a girlfriend, and he dotes on the girl like a jewel. The old man smiled and said, really? You thought my grandson wouldn't please people, but it turns out I was too worried. He Yan added, Wen family, have you ever heard of Grandpa Fu? Mr. Fu seemed to be recalling, the Wen family. Well, her father's name is Wen Jianmin, and he is a well-known entrepreneur in Haikan. Mr. Fu, I think I've heard of it. This girl's name is Wen Qiao. Her parents divorced when she was 9 years old. Because her younger brother has autism, her father thinks it is a disease inherited from her mother's genes, so. The old man, who was originally thinking that his grandson finally had the idea to fall in love, immediately darkened when he heard this. Autistic? Or are you born with it? He Yan's tone was a little heavy. Yes, I also have a younger brother who later got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and his emotions were not well controlled, but he said he was cured later. The girl's life experience sounds a bit pitiful, so Nan Li also loves her very much, and such a girl is very heartwarming. Fu Huiyang's face turned livid. Really? Well, Nan Li is really nice to her. I'm afraid that as soon as the girl graduates from college, she will get married, and then you can be a great-grandfather. Fu Huiyang forced a smile. Xiao Yan, I feel a little unwell and want to go upstairs to rest for a while. You can stay here and have lunch. He Yan said worriedly, Grandpa Fu, what's wrong with you? Do you need me to ask Li Fang to come over and take a look at you? It's okay, it's just an old problem. Just go up and lie down for a while and it will be fine. After saying that, he left the living room and went upstairs. He Yan smiled slightly. She understands Fu Nanli and also understands Grandpa Fu. Now that Lin Mingshu has collected so much evidence that Wen Qiao lied about being Fu Nanli's girlfriend, the two still have not broken up. What does that mean? It shows that Fu Nanli doesn't care whether Wen Qiao lies. This possible fact was enough to make her heart ache. For a liar, a girl who was full of lies, when had Fu Nanli's bottom line been so high? Is it just because she looks good? Sad and disappointed. But disappointed, she still couldn't sit still and wait for death. She knew what kind of character Grandpa Fu was. Unlike Nan Li's mother, the old man had a deeper family background. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 546. At that time, the Ye family and the Fu family were a political business marriage, and it seemed that they were not happy. With a poor background and a family genetic history, Wen Qiao would definitely not be able to catch Grandpa Fu's eyes. He Yan smiled and said to Uncle Li, tell Grandpa Fu that I still have things to do, so I won't stay here for lunch. The old man's bedroom was on the second floor. Uncle Li went to knock on the door and found no one inside. He went to the third floor again and saw that the husband's study was open. Uncle Li felt a thump in his heart. The old man was afraid of missing people after seeing things, so he never went up. This is the study room on the third floor. The old man reached out and gently touched the photo frame on the table with a sad expression. Uncle Li stood at the door, unable to advance or retreat. Do you know why Xian Yuan committed suicide that year? Uncle Li's heart was trembling. This was a taboo topic in the Fu family. He also died abroad that year. No one dared to ask or say anything. He was just a housekeeper, and he had no qualifications or position to take care of his boss's affairs. I don't know, Uncle Li answered truthfully. Fu Huiyang buttoned down the photo frame in his hand, his eyes reddened. He has depression. Uncle Li was silent for a moment, not knowing what to say. I still can't figure out why he suffers from depression. He is such a proud man who lacks everything. How could he suffer from depression? Uncle Lee did not dare to speak. His husband had never been very happy. He did not disobey the old man and went to study business, but he never gave up practicing the violin in private. After graduating from college, he did not work in a company. For this reason, father and son always have quarrels. The old man has a completely different attitude towards his son and grandson, and he is very strict with his son. My husband has been very depressed because of this. But can you say these words to the old man? The loss of his son has already made him miserable. If his son's death may be attributed to him, the old man may not be able to bear it. My condolences. After so many years, maybe my husband has been reincarnated into a good family. Don't be too sad. So, I can't let Nan Lee be with that genetically defective child. Uncle Lee didn't dare to reply. What if they give birth to a child with a defect? Uncle Lee comforted him, it's not that far yet. Maybe the young master is just dating the little girl for a while, and may not get married. Old man, you don't need to tell the young master this, so as not to cause any unpleasantness between the grandfather and the grandson. Come. Fu Huaiyang looked solemn, he is also 29 years old. He should have started a family a long time ago. What do you think of Xiao Yan? Our family and the He family know each other well. This child Xiao Yan is very suitable for our Nanli in every aspect. Uncle Lee could only think carefully and said, this matter still depends on the young master's wishes. Fu Huaiyang, I do this for the good of my family, Nanli. Uncle Lee could only sigh softly in his heart. After only 4 days there, Fu Nanli rushed back from Nanbin Island. Wen Qiao received his call and went to his apartment. As soon as he arrived at his house, he saw his bodyguard dragging the suitcase. Fu Nanli's eyes were filled with gray. Qing Shi, it was obvious that she was in a hurry these past few days. Just because her dam cycle had been shortened to 7 days, he was worried. There's no need for you to come back in such a hurry. Wen Qiao felt sorry for him. Fu Nanli pulled off his tie with one hand and unbuttoned 2 shirt buttons. His cell phone rang, and Wen Qiao dragged his hand to the living room. Over there was Uncle Lee's voice, which was very low and somewhat sneaky, young master. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 547. Fu Nanli frowned, what are you doing secretly? Uncle Lee continued to whisper, Master, I am ready to leave for your residence. What did you say? I won't tell you any more, just prepare yourself. Uncle Lee is just a housekeeper, what should be said and what should not be said. He is very clear in his heart. The Fu family and the He family are good friends. He can only remind the young master this much, otherwise he will be suspected of sowing discord. When Wen Qiao saw that he had answered the phone, his face looked a little strange. What's wrong? My grandpa is coming over. Wen Qiao was not surprised at all. Do you need me to avoid it? Fu Nanli lowered his eyes, thoughtfully, and then dialed the phone again. Grandma, are you still living in Yuan's mansion? Wu Yui's voice over there was a little unhappy. You kid, you don't even know where your grandmother lives? How long has it been since you last visited me? Is it convenient for you to come to my apartment now? How? I need your help, old man. So, 40 minutes later, Fu Huaiyang hurried to his grandson's residence. When the door opened, he saw his in-laws sitting in the living room, making tea and drinking tea in an elegant manner. The in-laws are here. Fu Huaiyang glanced at Fu Nanli. Why is your grandma here? Wu Yui smiled brightly. What do you mean by this? I can't come to my grandson's residence. Fu Huaiyang originally had a lot to say, but now he seemed to be too exhausted to say a word. Then a smile appeared on his face. How could it be? We all know that you love Nan Li. He looked around again and clicked his tongue. Nan Li, do you only live in such a small house? You are tied up, there is no garden, no court, no space. Fu Nanli picked up the tea made by his grandmother and handed it to his grandfather. I don't choose. It's one thing if you don't choose, but with your status, living in an ordinary apartment like this, if word spreads, people will just think that something happened to our Fu family. Fu Nanli smiled. Grandpa, drink tea. Fu Huayong held the teacup, drank it all in one gulp, and put down the teacup heavily. He didn't really come to drink tea. He still had to say what needed to be said. Why was he still shocked by this old lady? Do you know why I came today? Fu Nanli gently held the teacup with his slender fingers. I don't know. I heard you're dating someone, right? Fu Nanli's eyes did not dodge, and he met his grandfather's slightly forcing eyes, and said in a clear voice, yes. Fu Huayong didn't expect his grandson to be so magnanimous, but the more magnanimous he was, the more it showed that he was serious about his feelings. Do you know where she is from? What is her condition? Fu Nanli didn't speak, but his grandmother Wu Yui stood up slowly. I've seen that little girl, and I like her very much. Fu Huayong was choked for the second time. What did you say? Have you seen it? Wu Yui tightened the silk shawl on her shoulders and said seriously and sincerely, well, I have seen her. The girl is beautiful and polite, and she suits my eyes. The most important thing is that Nan Li likes her. This is the most important thing. I also like the child my grandson likes unconditionally. The most important thing is that Nan Li is happy. In her life, she lost her husband and her eldest daughter. When her son-in-law passed away, the grandson she loved most had a high fever, which took several days to go away. She didn't ask for anything else but her child's health and happiness. I am also working hard to update today. Please vote for me. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 548. Dear Mother, do you know what's going on with that child? She and Nan Li are not suitable. Wu Yui said seriously, my father-in-law, what do you mean by inappropriate? Is it the difference in family status? So when you fell in love with our family Mingkaiu, was it because of my family's family background? Fu Huayong was choked 3 times. How could it be? Of course it was because Min Chiu took the initiative to pursue my family Xianyu and that I agreed to this marriage. Wu Yui smiled, I'm not someone who values family status. Character is the most valuable thing. Don't you think so, old man? Fu Huayong was really unwilling. I heard that the child's younger brother has some mental illness. Fu Nanli finally spoke up, her brother did have autism and has now been cured. Wu Yui said, my father-in-law, you can't discriminate against patients. No one wants to get sick. God has already inflicted pain on them. If they are still looked down upon by others, how much pain will they have to suffer? Fu Huayong. Why do you think this old lady came prepared? No matter what he said, she could stop him. So Nan Li knew he was coming? Do you know that he came here to talk about that little girl? How could he know? Nowadays, the medical level is so advanced. Even if there is any disease, if you cooperate with the treatment and cure it, it will be really cured. What can't be cured in this world is a bad mind. As long as she has a kind heart, as long as she be good to Nan Li, even if we are Nan Li's elders, we shouldn't interfere too much with his feelings, his life, don't you think so, in-laws? Fu Huayong couldn't pick up a word. The Ye family is very powerful in Shaocheng. No matter how rich the Fu family is, they are still in business and cannot compare to the Ye family. Wu Yui pulled Mr. Fu to the terrace aside. I said, father-in-law, why are you so confused? Fu Huayong was so young and had been in a high position for a long time. Everyone who met him always fawned over him. How could he have ever been so bluntly attacked? His face turned a little livid. Why am I confused? He is my only grandson. I hold him in my hands for fear of falling, and hold him in my mouth for fear of melting. Am I not doing it for him? Wu Yui shook her head. Wei Nanli lost his father when he was 9 years old. Do you know how long it took him to come out of the shadows? Fu Huaiyang stopped talking. You didn't go to the UK with you. You don't know. In those years, I stayed with that child. I was scared every day because the child didn't speak. It was really like having autism. He hadn't spoken for several years. I was so scared. I'm afraid that he will be like that in the future. Now that this child is willing to open up his heart and talk about a partner, as the person he is closest to, you can't let him close his heart again. That being said, Wu Yui was a little displeased. Old man, I've said it all, but if you still don't agree with Nanli being with that child, then you are being considered inhumane. Fu Huaiyang looked a little worried. Why am I so unkind? You're not being unkind, so what are you? You are doing it for his good, and I am doing it for his good, but the method is different. I am thinking about his next generation. You are worrying too much. When he has the next generation, we may all be gone. Why worry so much? Children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. Haven't you heard this sentence? You. A passage in the article is quoted from a reader Zioking Wogakiking Wukian. People with bad intentions can never be cured, but if people with congenital diseases cooperate with treatment and are cured, then they will really be cured. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 549. This Ms. Wu Yui was a well-known talented woman in the celebrity circle back then. She had a quick mind and many literary figures could not argue with her, especially Fu Huaiyang. When his grandfather came in from the terrace, Fu Nanli was sitting on the sofa drinking tea. His unhurried look made Fu Huaiyang furious. He gritted his teeth and said, "No matter what, when you fall in love, you don't have the first time tell me, it's really wrong. When I have time, I will take her to the old house in Qianshui Lake to show you." Fu Huaiyang didn't want to hear this, but he knew that it would be meaningless to continue talking today. In short, this matter still needs to be considered in the long term. Marriage cannot be such a trivial matter. Fu Nanli did not reply. With his grandma here, there was really no need for his grandpa to start a conflict. With grandma's fighting power, 10 of his grandpas would not be a match. Fu Huaiyang saw his helpless appearance and knew that he could not defend the old lady, so he walked away with a pale face. The sound of bang and slamming of the door showed the old man's anger. Fu Nanli's response to this was just Wai Wei raising an eyebrow. When he looked up, he saw his grandma looking at him with squinted eyes. "You brat, you called me when your grandma was needed for something. Do the math for yourself, how long has it been since you last visited me?" Fu Nanli didn't go to see her because he was worried that she would ask to see Wen Qiao. But now it seems that hiding many things is not the answer after all. "Thank you, old man, for being willing to come over and help me regardless of the previous grudges." Fu Nanli reached out and hugged his grandmother. The old lady said disgustedly, "Let's drive, drive, you think my old woman is confused? Say a few nice words and I'll forgive you. In 2 days, I will take Xian Zheng and Qinja to the mansion to play mahjong with you." Fu Nanli looked at the old lady with a smile. The old lady muttered, "How can the old lady beat the 3 of you? Each one is smarter than the other. Are you asking me to lose money to you? You'll win." The two were talking when Wen Qiao came down from the 2nd floor. The old lady asked her to go up first. She was worried that the old man would say something unpleasant and hurt her when he came over, so she asked her to stay away first. Wu Yui was sitting on the sofa. Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao stood in front of her, accepting the scrutiny of the old lady's eyes. Nanli, you don't regard grandma as one of your own. Fu Nanli sat next to her. Don't think so, you are the person closest to me. Last time you took this little girl away in anger, I thought you had no intention of getting into a serious relationship. You were afraid that your grandma would embarrass her, weren't you? Don't think too much. The things between me and her are a bit complicated. I can't explain them clearly in a few words. I can't tell you everything at the moment. I'm also worried that she said something wrong. After all, she is young, so I think it's better not to let you meet. He would never mention Xiao Er's lies again, not in front of anyone. Wu Yui was still unhappy. You say that as if I am an old lady who is difficult to get along with. Even if the junior says something wrong, why would I take it to heart? Look at how worried you are. Fu Nanli apologized to his grandmother. Wu Yui waved to Wen Qiao, come here. Wen Qiao walked over and was held by the old lady's hand, asking her to sit next to her. Don't listen to this guy. When I first saw you, I felt that my eyes were close and I fell in love with you. Now I have been living in Yuan's mansion. When you have time in the future, you should spend more time with me, this old lady. I like the excitement. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 550. Wen Qiao nodded, okay, I will visit you often. Is there any difficulty at home about my younger brother's illness that Nanli mentioned? If you have any difficulty, you can tell me. I know many famous doctors. The old lady had kind eyes and it was obvious that Sheik Hung was treating her. Wen Qiao felt warm when he saw her for the first time, and now he is even more touched. My brother's illness has been cured, thank you. The old lady touched her head, don't take it to heart what others say, just stay with our Nan-Li grandma will stand firmly with you. Wen Qiao's grandparents died young, and her grandmother was gone long ago. There was only one grandfather left, who was relatively withdrawn. She had never enjoyed the kindness of her elders, and this feeling made her a little greedy. Well, thank you. At the end of July, it was still hot. Sulu was sitting in the study room of the Wen family, feeling a little annoyed. Even if she didn't search for it, she would still passively see the news that Wen Qiao had composed the music for the movie Xiaokong. There was an overwhelming amount of complimentary words, all praising Wen Qiao for his talent. So much so that Sulu was in a daze. It was such a long time ago that she was praised by everyone for being gentle, kind, and talented. Today she sent a message to Zhuang Yan, wanting to practice piano together, but Zhuang Yan still didn't reply to her. Even though he worked extremely hard in school, he couldn't keep up with Wen Qiao. In terms of love, he failed miserably. In terms of musical talent, Wen Qiao pinned him down and crushed him. She can't compare to Wen Qiao. She looked at WeChat and saw that it was an olive branch offered by an entertainment company. She said that relying on classical music to become popular in China was very limited. This was an era of traffic. No matter how popular she was when she played the piano, she couldn't compare to a woman who had a talent show background. Edu. She just wanted to prove herself, she just wanted that spotlight to shine on her head, and she hoped that everyone, including Zhuang Yan, could only see her. So, she replied to the economic company that wanted to sign her, send me the contract for a look. She is young, beautiful, and talented. As long as she stops lying to the public and claims that she is talented in composing lyrics and music, she will definitely be able to gain a foothold in the entertainment industry. And Chenghua Entertainment really gave her the resources for an idol drama, and Sulu saw hope again. When Zhao Tong learned that Sulu had signed a contract with an economic company, he immediately approached Sulu and was in disbelief, Lulu, why did you sign with this kind of economic company? Why did you want to get involved in the muddy waters of the entertainment industry? Your previous identity as a music producer, I don't have any objections, but you have to act now. Our sophomore major courses will increase and the coursework will be very heavy. If you go to act in TV, it will definitely be difficult to take care of your studies. Sulu shrugged. There are still film and television companies willing to sign me. Isn't this a good thing? I will try my best to take care of both sides. She wants everything. She wants to win the Music Industry Award before Wenqiao, and she also wants to become famous and shining in the film and television industry. If Wenqiao wants to enter the film and television industry after seeing her become popular, then Wenqiao will follow suit, then she will win over Wenqiao. Little did she know that Wenqiao entered the entertainment industry earlier than her, and he went there with the goal of becoming an investment tycoon in the entertainment industry. Zhao Tong only felt powerless. It's hard for you to have both. In the end, you will definitely throw away the same thing. I don't want you to throw away the piano you have practiced for many years, otherwise you will lose your original intention. Sulu patted Zhao Tong on the shoulder. You don't understand, I have my persistence. Okay, I will join the group in 2 days, you can come to visit the class, no matter how many people ask for this kind of debut, can you please support me if I get the chance to play the leading role? Zhao Tong wanted to say something else, but Sulu obviously didn't want to hear it, so she could only shut up.